evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight with me. I can't even explain how glad and excited I am to see all of you. This is incredibly humbling. Let me introduce myself again. I am Jude Michael S. Arroyo, and I'm running for the position of president in the upcoming 2022 presidential election. I know why all of you are here. You're not here for political rhetoric and sugar-coated narratives. You didn't show up to hear a lot of talk about how things that can be better and different than what they are right now. You're here because you're done with politics. You are here because the promises of the past administration remain unfulfilled. You're here because this is the most important election of our lifetime. The future of our country lies in our hands. Let me begin with something Ronald Reagan said in his State of the Union address in 1984. Let us be sure that those who come after will say of us that in our time we did everything that could be done. And these are the words of Franklin Roosevelt when he had spoken at Ugly Torfey University in 1932. It is common sense to take a method and try it is. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something. These two icons of USA's rival political parties had one sentiment, and that is to try and do something. If you believe that all of our problems are unsolvable, that there is nothing we can agree on, that is not true. Because more things unite us than separate us. While elections focus on dividing us, I want us to focus on the matters that will unite us and make us one. I always believe that no problem can stop us if we are united as one. Allow me to start by discussing the inequalities that exist in our society. The Philippines has the highest rate of economic and social inequality in Southeast Asia, according to the Asian Trade Union Council. This issue isn't only about personal wealth. The widening imbalance between the Philippine richest and poorest residents has an impact on land distribution, education and occupational possibilities, and basic welfare services. Geographic disparity has emerged in the Philippines as economic inequality has grown more evident over the last decade. 6 of 10 regions in Mindanao, the Philippines' southernmost and second largest island, are in the top 10 in the country in terms of poverty rates. Between 25 and 40% of families living in abject poverty. More than one-third of Philippines' poorest household lives in the 30 poorest provinces, resulting in generational poverty that is extremely difficult to overcome. These inequalities are complicated issue, but they can be solved if we work together to guarantee that the poorest of the poor have access to opportunities. The key to eliminating inequality is to improve education, healthcare, and agricultural productivity. We should all work together to ensure that the poorest households in the country have access to healthcare, education, and land ownership. Climate change and global warming are the two of the most pressing issues confronting any government on the planet. All international leaders are attempting to control or mitigate the effects of these main issues. It's already happening. As the temperature rises, droughts become more common and wildfires become more widespread. Rainfall patterns are shifting, glaciers are melting, and sea levels are rising around the world. We are the last generation that are capable of averting catastrophic climate change. We got the knowledge and the tools. All we need is a good leader to lead us in the right direction. More trees must be planted, and what remains of our tropical forests must be protected. The most cost-effective solution to avoid this problem is to reforest. According to research presented at the American Association for the Advancement of Science Conference, it was proven that trees absorb carbon dioxide, so planting more trees can decrease the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I also advocate switching to renewable sources of energy such as solar and wind energy to power our houses and buildings because it emits less trapping gases into the atmosphere. We should all spread awareness regarding the devastating effects of climate change and global warming and how we can help to lessen the effects. When it comes to COVID-19, we're only as safe as those people who are most of danger in our community because we are all in this together. We must ensure that our messaging about the virus and its containment does not promote racism, xenophobic, or biased thinking. At this time, we must remember the importance of unity. As a leader, it is our responsibility to use powerful language of inclusion, unity, empowerment, and justice to combat the powerful fear and stigma surrounding COVID-19. This will enable us to be allies of communities of color, immigrants, low-income communities, and incarcerated people who are expected to be disproportionately affected by the pandemic and its narrative. We must engage in a collaborative discourse to ensure that communities and populations most at risk receive the attention and resources they need, and that they are not stigmatized as a result of obtaining those services. It is also important to remember to utilize language that promote justice and equality. The only way to survive this pandemic is to unite and work together. We must work together to promote these principles and to work together as one. Corruption is a persistent cancer that is killing our country and destroying the lives of many Filipinos. It is like a contagious disease that infects and transforms the young generation of leaders from righteous ones into wrongdoers. If this disease persists any longer, our present and future will be in big trouble. We have a lot of ways to fight corruption. We need to punish both sellers and both brokers because corrupt voters give birth to corrupt politicians. Most of us are aware that both buying is illegal, but actually, both selling is also prohibited by law. According to Section 261, Article 22 of the Omnibus Election Code, both vote buying and vote selling are prohibited and punishable. In other words, it's only the candidates, their supporters, or the vote buyers who can be found guilty of an election offense. But the voters and or vote sellers can also be punished according to the code. Majority of politicians in the Philippines are rich and generating income from business. Even the poorest mayor in Metro Manila has the net worth of 3.31 million. Therefore, the BIR should not only focus on examining small business owners and professionals, but should also concentrate on investigating the politicians and the companies that are fully or partially owned by them. The government should not only require public officials to submit their financial statements or statements of assets and liabilities, but they should also assess or audit these public officials annually and make their statement available to the public. This way, the public will know how they're earning income and increasing their network, whether it's coming from the salary or from their business. Public officials should be a role model of public trust. They desire to be a public office, hence they should not complain if they are required to undergo annual tax examination. We can't achieve anything if we are in conflict and doesn't have peace. We need to improve our peace-building initiatives. Peace building is a long-term process of encouraging people to talk, repairing relationships, and reforming institutions. For positive change to last, everyone affected by a destructive conflict has to be involved in the process of building peace. Transforming relationships is key to putting an end to violence. That means understanding and dealing with why people are fighting in the first place and finding ways to moving things forward. This is true, whether the conflict is within communities, between societies, or between the state and ordinary people. In practical terms, peace building can look like any of hundreds of different actions. It can be bringing different groups together to discuss the issues, or using the film and media to help people understand the viewpoints of others. It might be providing support for formal process of negotiation between government and armed groups, or ensuring marginalized groups can have a say. Peace is built when we break down stereotypes and when different groups work together. I always believe that education is the key to success. I advocate for education for all. Their initiative included provision to ensure all Filipinos were able to achieve what UNESCO calls functional literacy, the ability to read, write, and do calculations at a level that is sufficient for the country in which a particular person lives. I further support the K-12 reform. There are set of four key objectives for the Education for All initiative: providing education options for all out-of-school adults and young people, eliminating dropouts and repetition during the first 3 years of school, encouraging the completion of a full cycle of basic schooling to a satisfactory level at every grade by all Filipino children, and committing to the attainment of basic education competencies for everyone. These are just the handful of topics where we believe that we can have an impact. If you share my views on these issues, which I believe the vast majority of Filipinos do, I need you to get out there and help me. I'm counting on you to stay focused. We know we can make a progress, but I need you to do something in order for us to make a progress. I'm counting on your vote. I need you to encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to vote. I ask you to stand with me, to join me, and that we can work together to build the country that we know we can be. Remember that this election isn't about Ferdinand Marcos Jr. or Lenny Robredo or anyone else. It is about our country's future, and I genuinely believe that we are headed toward economic freedom, full employment, quality education, corruption-free, and equal opportunity for all.